Welcome to Module 2. This is actually one of my favorite things to teach in this course because it forms the backbone, literally, of your marketing, and it plays an important part in creating your brand and in creating your ideal practice. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to craft and tell your story in a very compelling way. Okay, so these days we're hearing all the marketing experts are all talking about how important it is to tell your story. You got to tell your story. Well, the reason that they're doing that is because it really works. People remember stories. It's the easiest way to get your message across and to create an immediate connection with your target market. People remember stories, and parables are one of the most effective ways of teaching. Think the Bible. Another benefit of stories are that they help people to connect with you, sometimes on a very deep level. If your story is compelling enough, it helps your clients and potential clients understand exactly why you're doing what you're doing and why it's important to you. And a well-crafted story can help illustrate what makes you uniquely qualified to be doing what you're doing. And your story can also be really inspirational and motivational to your clients, especially if it involves you overcoming the same challenges that your clients themselves face. It gives them hope that they can overcome the struggles that they face, just like you did. And it also reinforces the idea that you are the very clear choice to be able to help them. So what are the secrets to formulating a compelling story? And how do you find the parts of your story that will have particular meaning to those patients who you can help the most? And you can avoid losing them with the information that's not really relevant to what they're interested in. So like any good story, we need to start with a theme, a central element, an element that unifies your message and provides the framework for the rest of your story. In Hollywood, they call it a through line or the spine. It's the main theme, the driving force that moves a character forward in a story. So ask yourself, what is it that you want your potential clients and your clients to know about you? What's important to you? What's your big why? And why should it be important to them to know it? Another word for the through line is also called the spine, and I actually like that a little bit better, so I'm going to use that one. And for some of you, your through line or spine is instantly identifiable. You know exactly what it is. And others not so much. Maybe you're still looking for the spine. You're looking for your central theme. Now, if you don't have that yet, that's okay, because through this exercise, as we work on the supporting facts for your through line may really begin to emerge. So you'll start to see what your central theme is. Now, right down below this video, there is a downloadable form. And you can print that out, and we can actually go through this together. So print out the worksheet now, and let's do this together. So what I'd like for you to do is, over here on the left-hand side, we're going to, so here's your story. Over here on the left-hand side, we're going to write down some experiences that maybe you had as a child growing up, the school you went to. So anything that happened to you going through your life. So your school, maybe your neighborhood, where you grew up, what your childhood was like, what you liked to do. Your hobbies, your interests, maybe your accomplishments, maybe any sports that you played, what you like to do in your free time, anything that interested you. And now over here on the right side, we're going to write down any pivotal moments. Maybe there was an illness. Maybe there was maybe a death in the family. Maybe there was an accident. So anything at all. Maybe it was travel. Maybe you went to a third world country and your eyes were open to something. So any kind of experience that caused you to reevaluate something. Maybe it was a disaster. Maybe you got laid off. So anything that had a pivotal point in your life, it also could be happy. It could be something that was, it could be a happy event. It could be a good thing. Maybe it was maybe it was a wedding, you got married. So anything happy, maybe you won, maybe you won the Olympics. There are some clients that I've had that they won the Olympics, and that was a very pivotal point in their journey. So here, these are sort of like the ribs of your spine. And right here, this would make up your through line. So over here, these can be the supporting facts, the supporting, the little stories that can really illustrate what your through line is all about. So maybe through an illness that really caused you to reevaluate something, or that maybe that's one of the impetuses that made you decide to become a doctor or to become a healer. So you can begin to look for the common themes in all of these things. And then you can look at what would be the common theme, and how did they contribute to making you a better doctor? What does this really do to set you aside from all of the other people that are out there that are doing exactly what you're doing? What are some of these unique experiences that give you something that nobody else has that's doing what you're doing in your field? So the beauty of telling your story as a part of your journey is that it also establishes some rapport with your patients, because they think, wow, you know what, that's really amazing that this kind of experience really led her to do what she's doing. So they can really have a strong identity with your big why. And also remember to talk about your feelings. And I'll tell you why talking about your feelings is important. Because even if your potential clients cannot relate to the experience that you're talking about, if you talk about the feelings that you had, maybe something made you angry, maybe it was sadness, maybe fear, frustration, desperation, hope, compassion, and love. Those are just a few examples. But remember to talk about the emotional journey, not only the physical journey. So now that you have all of these things down on paper, it's a lot easier to see the common theme and how this fits in with your through line. For example, one of my common themes is overcoming challenges and having constant and never-ending improvement. So the themes that you begin to see, you really start to see through these experiences how they contribute to what you're doing today, and how that really makes you uniquely qualified to be doing what you're doing. If for some reason you're really having a hard time with finding your story, you can tell the story of your profession. Now, I actually did this in my practice. I told my story, I told the doctor's story, and I told the story of the profession of chiropractic, which was the specialty that I worked in. And that was very compelling for patients. So if you are getting stuck and you really don't feel like your story is compelling enough, go ahead and tell the story of your profession. So you want to cover things like how it originated. How did it start? Where did it start? So Chinese medicine, it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. You can talk about the history. You can talk about maybe challenges that your profession faced. What happened? What kinds of challenges was it up against in order to gain the respect that it has today? Can talk about different success stories. You can talk about the philosophy, not only the actual modality itself, but you can talk about the philosophy behind the treatments. Can talk about the leaders in your profession, maybe what kind of anecdotal stories or what kind of research there is out there. So a lot of these can actually make very, very compelling stories for your patients. It's not quite as good as telling your own individual story, but perhaps you can weave your story in and around what interested you in your profession and what really caused you to study the type of medicine that you study or study the type of healing modality that you did, and tell the story that way. And that also helps your patients to connect with you, to connect with your big why and why you're doing this. So now, where do you tell your story? Now that you have your story and you know your through line, you've got a compelling story, where are you going to tell it? Well, you tell it on your website, very important. You want to tell people who you are right up front and center when they come to see you online. You also want to include your story in your brochure, if you have a brochure, which I hope you do. Something that you give to your new patients when they come in, so that they can, so that they can have something to remember and go back and read all about you. You can use it in your welcome letter when you send out a welcome letter to your patients after they've come to your office. And you want to include your story in your bio. It may not be the whole story, but you can just kind of condense it down and use parts of it. When you have an educational talk, maybe you go out into the community, you do marketing talks in the community, you always want to tell a part of your story in that talk, especially the part that tells people your big why and why you're doing it. So in community talks, you want to tell your story. So it's really, really great to have that story so that people remember you. They say, oh yeah, who was that doctor that, she went to Africa and she had this great epiphany when she was treating people there, whatever it is. So they'll really remember you, and they'll remember your story much more than they'll remember where you went to school or where you studied and all that kind of thing. So remember to tell your story, put it in all of your marketing, and it will really make you memorable to your clients and your ideal clients.